Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you all my Cardfight Vanguard, Dragonic, Nouvelle, Vague, Kagero standard deck profile for April 2020. Wanted to look back on one of my favorite units in Cardfight Vanguard, which is Transcendence, Dragon, Dragonic, Nouvelle, Vague. This one is the grade 4 for Kagero that nullifies your opponent's triggers. It was released in the Psyqualia Strife booster set. It's a really interesting pack. This card is actually not too pricey. It's not that competitive. It's more of a fun version of the Kagero deck. So if you're looking to build something quite affordable in the Kagero clan compared to Dragonic Overlord the End, the Great, and all of those other Overlord support, including Blade Master, this deck is definitely one of the more affordable of the Kagero decks, being able to pick up, like I said, a good amount of the Nouvelle support for a pretty good price. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the grade 4, your main go-to monster in the deck is Transcendence Dragon, Dragonic, Nouvelle, Vague. With this one, for the Vanguard only effect, it is a 15,000 power grade 4 with Twin Drive and Imaginary Gift Force. You Soul Blast 1 grade 3 or greater, and until the end of turn, all of your opponent's trigger effects are nullified, and this unit gets plus 20,000 power, drive -1. And if your opponent has 5 cards in their damage zone, retire all of your opponent's rear guards. So being able to retire all their rear guards is a big push, especially, but then also being able to rely on the fact that your opponent can get a heal trigger, or even the fact that their triggers are nullified in general, is a very strong aspect of this card. The main focus obviously being that you can ride this on top of your go-to grade 3, and then also being another grade 4 if you want, again, just being able to ride it on another Nouvelle, and then Soul Blast a grade 3 or greater. It doesn't specify grade 3, you can just go for another Nouvelle for the Soul Blast, as long as you keep, drive checking this card or searching it out with some of the other support we run in the deck. And I decided to split the grade 3 and 4s together. So for the grade 3 count, just running the 4 Dragonic Overlord for the go-to grade 3, with Nouvelle taking up the other half spot for the grade 3 lineup. Being a grade 4, we still need it just to have some good ratio and contrast with the other grade 3s we run in the deck. But Dragonic Overlord being one of the more affordable ones, but also the most consistent, because other cards like Dragonic Waterfall need a grade 3 in the Soul, and also the End, Overlord, and the Great all need an Overlord in the Soul, so they don't really play much for the deck, while, Nouvelle Vague focuses on some effect. You want to have another grade 3 that can at least have some pressure when you place it on the turn you ride this card, and that's where Dragonic Overlord comes in for its ability. It's a Counter Blast, which Nouvelle Vague doesn't, use any Counter Blast. It's just a Soul Blast, and then the Soul Blast for Dragonic Overlord, you don't really need as much for the 10k power, because you can always rely on your Imaginary Gift Force for the power-up that you can use for this card, but you mostly use it for the pressure of on Vanguard once per turn. When an attack hits, Counterblast 1, discard 2 cards from your hand, stand this unit, and it gets drive -1 until end of turn. So just the pressure to hit against your opponent's rear guard, restand, then attack your opponent again, and then next turn go into your ride of your Dragonic Nouvelle Vague, and then have that pressure of it being a 15k Vanguard, making it more difficult for your opponent to attack over this unit alone, and then also just having easier shields against your opponent to go for. But I find that this ratio is still the best to rely on altogether for the plays, since there's no other play that you want to focus on in the deck with decks like Dragonic Blade Master, the Great, the End. You just want that generic grade 3 to rely on, and that's where Dragonic Overlord definitely does come in handy. And then that's it for the grade 3s and 4s. Moving on to the grade 2s, I am running 4 Novella Critic Dragon. On rearguard, when an attack hits a Vanguard, search your deck for up to 1 Transcendence Dragon, Dragonic Nouvelle Vague, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. So on a rearguard search only, but still very powerful for that pressure against your opponent, making sure that, if you put this on rear and attack with it, they're either going to let this hit or let the Vanguard go through most of the time. They're not going to want to have to guard too much, because it'll eat eat up their hand and also eat up some of the other plays that they were hoping to rely on also. But this card, for the pressure, you definitely need it just to have those multiple searches, because once you ride into your Nouvelle Vague, you have, no other ride targets to go into. You can just call Dragonic Overlord to the rear, but your other rides are going to have to be the continuous Nouvelle Vague that you go into, so you can have the Soul Blast to continue as well for the different skills. So 4 of this definitely helps. The fact that it's only a rear guard play, I'd say, is the biggest weakness of the card, but it still has the 10k power, so still a good ride target if need be to play defensively and offensively against your opponent, depending on the type of deck you're also going up against. And I am also running 4 Berserk Dragon. Now you're limited with the Soul Blast for Nouvelle being the grade 3 or greater. So as long as you're Soul Blasting other cards in the deck that aren't the grade 3s with your Berserk Dragon, you'll still have the Retire against your opponent and the Draw Power also. It's my go-to Vanguard ride for the deck, just so you have the Retire power. The Retire effect of Nouvelle comes in mind at times, but it's just not as consistent because your opponent has to be at 5 damage to also make it work. So having these other units in the deck to assist with the grade 2 power definitely comes as a plus for sure. So the 4 Berserk Dragon, once again, definitely needed. Because of the draw power, it's a 13k power on rear when it attacks a Vanguard if you have more rear guards than your opponent, and then just being able to rely on the retired effect on both Vanguard and rear as well. And to finish off the grade 2s, just the 3 Dragonic Burnout. I like this card. It recycles Nouvelle, which is another added plus for sure. With your Transcendence not being a place effect, just, when its attack hits, you can, have an infinite amount of Nouvelles. With this as well, just being able to put back cards from the drop zone, so after you Soul Blast them, you can put them back and then reuse them again with the search. It all works together very, very well with their, once per turn effects not being placed, just being the once per turn call cost for them to place out on the field to use. So just 3 of it though. I might even consider bumping this card up to 4 and taking out 1 Berserk Dragon, just when I try out my consistency a little more with the deck. If I end up liking just that more recycled power, it definitely does come in handy. So you always have the Novelles to go into also for the Soul Blast. But that is it for the grade 2s. We'll now move on to the grade 1s. Our main go-to grade 1 is Nouvelle Roman Dragon on rear. When placed, reveal a Transcendence Dragon, Dragonic Nouvelle Vague from your hand. Return it to your deck. Insert your deck for up to 1 Dragonic Overlord. Reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle your deck. So this card also plays off the fact why Dragonic Overlord is the best card to go with your Nouvelle Vague. So you always have that consistent ride target, whether you have this card and rely on the search for Dragonic Overlord, and then going for your grade 2 Nouvelle Critic to search out the Nouvelle after you place it back into the deck to use. So that makes up for the whole ratio with the cards you run on the deck, relying on this grade 1 for that easy search, not having to have any hit effect, just a reveal, and then placing it back into your deck and searching for Dragonic Overlord, because you definitely do need the grade 3 before the grade 4 ride, which you can always, drive check into your Nouvelle as well with your twin drive of your Dragonic Overlord, and then rely on that pressure also with this card. And the fact that it's also an 8k makes for a good boost of your Vanguard, especially once you have the setup with Nouvelle Roman and your Nouvelle Vague. Being able to hit the 23k power against your opponent means you can hit most 13k decks as well, and they have to use bigger 10k shields to block the attacks in total. And with a lot of the retire power we're still doing in the deck, I like the 4 Flame of Hope ammo. During the battle, it boosted. This unit gets plus 3,000 power, and on rear, when your opponent's rear guard is retired during your turn, retire this unit, draw a card, and countercharge 1. So you just have that draw countercharge power for all the different cards you run in the deck that counterblast, especially your Dragonic Burnout, since you want just that unlimited supply of, recycle for your Nouvelles in the deck, since it puts back a grade 2 or greater. The countercharging you can do with ammo, and the draw power definitely does come in handy also to rely on. If you don't have the Baris for the draw trigger Sentinel spot in the deck, you can take out the airmos though for the draw trigger spot being a normal draw trigger, and then the Sentinel being the grade 1 count here. And I also run the 4 Sable Dragonoot. When an attack hits, draw cards. The Vanguard effect. You don't really want to run Nouvelle Roman as your Vanguard target. You want to rely on other ones that have the Vanguard hit skill. But on rear guard, when your opponent's rear guard is retired, during your turn, you can retire this unit to also draw a card. Excuse me. but also having that power to rely on also is very, very useful for the retire power and the draw you can do. And to finish off the grade 1s, just the 2 Dragonic Gaius. On rare, when it boosts to grade 3 or greater, counterblast 1, put this unit into your soul. The boosted unit gets an additional critical until the end of that battle. So with Nouvelle having all the pressure with that power, nullifying triggers, you just need that extra critical for the push that this card can do. So having your Dragonic Gaius to rely on is a big plus as well. Just 2 of it though, it's very situational with the counterblasts, and you're losing your boost, so as long as you have that other strength to go for, then you have this power to rely on also. And that is it for the grade 1s. We'll now move on to the grade 0s. For your starter, running the Lizard Runner Undo, I think it's most fitting still with this being Kai's deck and his main go-to starter, since we don't have Conroe in Standard. And then for the triggers, with the pressure with Nouvelle once more, sticking to the 8 critical, so the 4 Rakshasa and the 4 Embodiment of Spear Tar. And then for the draw trigger, going with the Wyvern Guard Bari for the draw trigger Sentinel spot, and the 4 Dragon Monk Genjo for the heal trigger spot. Hopefully we do get a different heal trigger for Kagero with the new booster set coming out. Definitely will be a cooler one for sure. I like Genjo, but still want to see maybe some of the Dragon Dancers we have also for Kagero. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoy the video. Until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and always taking requests for other decks. If you want to see premium, standard, you name it, just comment down below, and I'll definitely look into those decks. But once again, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Qualia out.